You're listening to the station that's been nominated for 11... Wait, that doesn't sound right.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
12. This is the station
we won 5
for 12 awards from the Intercollegiate Broadcasting System.
FM,
HD,
Amazon Echo,
Google Home,
the TuneIn Radio app,
the iHeartRadio app,
and nccradio.org.
This is 90.3 WHPC.
WHPC HD.
Garden City,
Long Island,
New York.
.3 WHPC. That's my brother making noises in the background. Welcome to another edition of From the Press Box, right here on 90.3 WHPC. We just won Community College Radio Station of the Year, according to the Intercollegiate Broadcasting System. Congratulations to everyone here at WHPC for their fine work. And,
thank you, brother.
And Timothy's part of it, and Sean Novat's our director. Congratulations to him and everyone else, man. You just don't win those awards. We also won Best Morning Show. Michael Anthony won for Best Interview, I believe. Or he won for something, I know that, for The Unforgettables. And Your Family's Health also won. So a lot of awards here. We won 5 awards. It was a great time Friday and Saturday at the Hotel Pennsylvania. It's not the Penta anymore, brother. You know that. It's called the Hotel Pennsylvania again.
Yes, there were a lot of bad Eagles jokes being thrown around.
As well they should. Anyway, my name is Rob Leonard. Joining me on the phone is award-winning sports writer and, yes, my brother, Tim Leonard. Hello, Timothy. How are things in Queens?
Snowy, brother. Very snowy.
Yeah, and I just want to say to people driving out there right now, actually the roads are at least Hempstead Turnpike was pretty good. But if you're going to drive, make sure you clean all the snow off your car, not just off your front windshield or half the windshield where you look out. Make sure your back is done. The thing is that if you don't
roof too,
everything, because if you don't do it, what happens is you're driving 40 miles an hour, 30 miles an hour. The wind starts getting under the snow, and it becomes like missiles for the people behind you. And you don't want to cause any accidents because
it's also illegal, brother.
Besides that, it's stupid.
You'll get a ticket.
It's stupid because they don't pull you over for that. You know, there's too many other things for the cops to do. So don't be a stupid jerk. Take the 5 minutes and clean your car off. That's all I have to say. It's real easy. You have a brush. You're outside. It's not that cold out. There's no wind right now. Tonight will be cold. Plus, tonight it will freeze onto your car if you don't take it off by then. So don't be a jerk. Clear your car, and that's all I have to say.
Good PSA, brother.
Thank you, brother. Anyway, another week in sports has gone by, as always, and we have to go back to Thursday, brother, before we forget. The Islanders hosted the Toronto Maple Leafs at, I call it the Nassau Coliseum.
Nassau Coliseum.
Yeah. And they had something to prove, and boy, did they prove it. They won 6-1 over the Maple Leafs. John Tavares returned to his old home, the Nassau Coliseum. Guess what? Islander fans, instead of maybe remembering some of the good times, didn't remember anything. They booed him during the highlights they showed. The Islanders did a highlight reel at the beginning of the game, right before the game started, and the Islander fans just went crazy booing. As well, I guess they should at this point, you know?
Well, I thought it needed to happen. It was ugly. I'm not going to sugarcoat that part of it. The Islander fans let several months of betrayal and frustration, I guess, kind of boil over at the Coliseum the other night. And I mean, let's face it, it made for a pretty impressive atmosphere for what otherwise would have been just another regular season game, pretty deep into the season. But, John Tavares' return to Nassau Coliseum allowed the Islanders fans to let him know that they were not happy with how he handled his free agency, and I think you can talk about that that they should honor the guy for the 9 years that he gave them, and that he's one of the great players in franchise history, and all of that is true. But what I keep coming back to with John Tavares is, he told the Islanders last season, "Do not trade me."
Yep.
And this is a team that how many times do they have the kind of trade chip like John Tavares would have been, and how much would he have helped a team pushing for the Stanley Cup? And what could they have gotten for him last year? I mean, I think they could have gotten probably at least a couple of young players and a draft pick, or maybe 2 first-round picks. I mean, there's no telling what the Islanders could have gotten, but because they wanted to try to accommodate Tavares in any way they could to keep him an Islander, they said, "Okay, John, you don't want to get traded? We're not going to trade you. We're good. Hang out. What else can we do for you?" Some guy offered Tavares bagels for life.
Right, I remember that.
There were a lot of people on Long Island willing to do whatever they had to do to make John Tavares happy. And after saying at the deadline, like I said, he could see himself as an Islander for life. And then free agency period starts, and John Tavares says, "You know what? I'm going home to Toronto. Take care."
Yep, and he didn't have to do that, and he could have just said, "Hey, you know what? You sort of know you're going home. I don't care what you say." I don't know why he had to wait that long. I think if he really wanted to be a Maple Leaf, as much as I think he really enjoyed being an Islander, if you want to go home, then say it. Don't drag everyone through it. That's all.
Well, but that's the part that got Islander fans so upset. Is that, like I said, they tried to do as much as they could to accommodate him. They obviously wanted him to stay. The Islanders reportedly made a better offer than the Maple Leafs made. So obviously Tavares was not only chasing the money; he wanted to play in Toronto, and also accept that kind of scrutiny. I mean, for the people who are saying that oh, poor John Tavares, I'm sorry, he handled his departure pretty much as badly as he could have. He asked the Islanders for concessions, and he asked them to do things for him, and then he just turned his back on the franchise. And I understand that you can look at it and say that here's a guy who unquestionably is a great Islander, one of the greats in franchise history. He's the guy that carried the club through the ineptitude of Garth Snow being the general manager, and to a lesser extent Charles Wang being the owner. Obviously Wang is not the guy that you necessarily can blame.
Actually, you know what?
I was about to say he's the one that allowed the Garth Snow mess to continue.
Right, and also I hate to say this, as much as Charles Wang saved the Islanders from maybe moving to Kansas City or some other place where they want a hockey team very badly. You know what? He did sign him to this horrible deal with the Barclays Center. Yes, he was frustrated with the politics of Nassau County and trying to build a new arena, which he was going to do. But you know what? This thing with the Barclays Center and is really split this team in many ways, and its fan base more than maybe more than the team, but its fan base. And it's a very strange situation because really, as much as I'm looking forward to the new arena at Belmont, you know what? They should have cut the deal with the Barclays people and say, hey, you know what? Let's just end this deal. We'll give you a little payout or whatever, and knock down the Coliseum and build it there because it's still the perfect place on Long Island, and especially in Nassau County, to put an arena. And that's where the Islanders have played since 1972. Not that I don't look forward to the Belmont thing, but it's going to be a different place. It's literally on the Queens border, too. That's the other thing. Literally, it's the border's on the other side of the Cross Island. So I have to blame Charles Wang a little bit because he shouldn't have done the deal. If he sold the team and then let them do it, then that's one thing. But he made the deal first and then sold the team. If he knew he was going to sell a team because he was losing money on it, then he should have waited because he had to have known that.
Well, But the other thing you have to think about is did he sell because at that point then he got sick and he was dealing with that. I mean, you don't know what his life situation was.
I don't
like
know. You're right. I don't know what I don't know when he got sick.
That's hard to say.
But at the same time, it seemed like he purposely signed the deal with the Barclays just to screw over the people in Nassau, not the fans, but the other people. So.
No, I think he was just looking for an improved. An improved home arena because he wanted to enhance the experience for the fans, and he wasn't going to be able to do that with a new arena on Long Island because of the politics of it. So he reached out and said, "All right, what other thing can I do?" I mean, right. I think it was he thought it was the best decision. And there was no real good decision at that point.
I almost agree with that. My problem is when they were building the Barclays, they went to him and they said, would you like us to rearrange this place for hockey? Because it wasn't built for hockey. And
yeah, it would have been a different building if Wong would have said yes to that.
Right, and he said, no, we're staying on Long Island. 3 years later or whatever, all of a sudden, okay, yeah, we'll go. And it's a horrible place to watch hockey. It just is.
Yes, but all right, let's get back on track, brother.
I'm just saying, brother. John Tavares is not a liked person on Long Island right now either. So I just had to throw in someone else. Garth Snow. You brought up Garth Snow. That's why. What the thing about Garth Snow is, brother? I've completely forgotten the destruction he did as the so-called general manager of the Islanders. Now we have Lou Lamoriello around. The team is just a different animal.
But that's a twofold thing because I expected Lou Lamoriello to do something at the trading deadline a couple days ago to help this team get somewhere in the postseason, and nothing happened for the Islanders. Now, you could say that they don't necessarily need to do something, but they certainly could have used another scoring winger to pair with Matthew Barzal. So I was a little disappointed with Lou Lamoriello, and he's a guy who has a reputation as being somebody who's not afraid to make a deal. So I was expecting somebody to be coming to Long Island on last week when the deadline hit. So that was disappointing. But I'm certainly not going to condemn Lou Lamoriello for that because obviously you don't know what the offers were, and you certainly don't want to mortgage your future during a season where it certainly looks like the Tampa Bay Lightning are the overwhelming favorite to win the Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like I said, it would have been nice to see a deal, and it would, but that said, the Islanders certainly are going to have a good amount of money to spend in free agency this summer, and at that point likely will address. And actually, there's a player for Toronto who is going to be a free agent who there would be very, very ironic, let's say, if the Islanders were to sign him away from the Maple Leafs.
That would be true, yeah.
But to get back to Tavares, Islander fans were in full throat, as they say, way before the game started.
Oh my God,
Obviously, there was a lot of pre-gaming going on in the parking lot. Rubber snakes were being thrown on the ice. That's the big thing now with Tavares. He's become referred to as a snake, which I don't know.
That I don't believe.
A little much. I mean, first of all, I have to say I am never in favor of throwing anything on the ice. I thought that was stupid.
I agree.
Somebody else threw an old Islanders Tavares jersey at him when he was coming off the ice at warm-ups. They came very close to hitting him. Now, I know nobody's going to get hurt from a jersey being thrown at them, but again, you don't throw. The only time you throw something on the ice is when a hat trick happens. That's it. Otherwise, don't be a moron. Like you said.
What about the octopus?
Clean the snow off your car.
What about the octopus?
Same thing. It's a celebration. It's not. Nobody's throwing it in anger. No, it's a celebration. And it's a tradition. Throwing plastic or rubber snakes on the ice before a game. That's not a tradition. That's just idiots. So I was disappointed to see that. I will tell you on Twitter, Islander fans were getting roasted on Twitter. And
why?
People were taking Tavares aside and saying, this is why Tavares left Long Island.
That's not true at all.
I thought that reaction was a bit extreme and certainly untrue, because I think you have to. A lot of teams have lost players. I'm curious to see what the reaction is going to be to Bryce Harper when he plays in Washington, and that's going to happen. I think I saw April 2nd. I mean, it's like the second series of the year.
Right.
When the Phillies go to DC, but I mean, the chance. It's your bedtime.
I love
because,
that. That was
the
funny.
The pictures came out with Tavares sleeping in his Maple Leaf his Maple Leaf sheets, and then I think he was wearing Maple Leaf pajamas, and that whole thing, and somebody then that turned into where's your jammies, which was pretty creative. I don't know why they were chanting "Who's your daddy?" I guess that was because it was 6-1 at that point. But there were a lot of fairly creative chants, and I think. I mean, Tavares to me is he's a professional, and he knew what the night was going to bring. I would have liked to have seen Islanders fans at least acknowledge during the video tribute, at least give the guy an ovation.
They will down the road. It's funny because
right.
If you think of other people who've left the New York area over the years or have gotten traded. You think of Eddie Jockman, when he came back, literally was the next day. The Ranger fans were cheering him on. They were booing the Rangers. When Patrick Ewing got traded and then he came back, the Knick fans were really nice to him. But if you think about it, when Pat Riley came back, they booed him and they booed him and they booed him and they booed him until he stopped coaching, basically. So it's interesting how players, depending on who they are, and how they left are treated by the fans in New York.
Well, the key word that you just said there was traded. I mean, you could say the same for Tom Seaver too. I mean,
that's true.
The fans don't necessarily want their players traded, but they understand that's the business end of sports. And let's face it, if the Giants could trade Eli Manning, I'm sure Eli Manning would get a standing ovation when he came back to MetLife Stadium. But John Tavares chose to leave. And like I said, he asked the Islanders not to trade him last year, and the Islanders acquiesced to him. So that is why fans are angry, because here's a guy who, let's face it, he grew up on Long Island.
Right.
Yes, he was born and raised in Toronto, but he spent his formative years, he was basically the years where he became a man. Those were done in Long Island. So he went from teenager to married man to being an adult. And people sometimes forget how young some of these guys are, especially hockey, when they come up. And Tavares was basically the same age as a college student.
Yep.
I don't know too many people who would say, "Oh yeah, the college student, he's an adult."
Yeah,
maybe a court of law,
very good
court of law, but that's about it.
Yeah, no, it's a good point.
But so that's that. I think that as the years go on, I think Islander fans will kind of reduce the anger that they have for John Tavares and accept the fact that, hey, you know what, this is what happened, and we recovered quickly and still actually probably became a better team because of it. And I would certainly like to have John Tavares on the Islanders right now, because I think they'd be an even better team than they have been this season, and it's been a pretty magical season thus far. But at the same time, I think it's kind of forced other players on the club to step up into roles that they previously hadn't stepped into.
Right.
So I don't want to just say, well, the team, they lost their best player, but they're better. I mean, it doesn't usually work that way.
Well, I think no one stepped up to Tavares' talent, but a lot of people have filled in, and it's spread out. So it's more
right.
It's more talent showing up for the games.
The Islanders are certainly a more balanced team. I mean, all you have to do is look at the scoring stats to see that. But at the same time, when the playoffs come, teams rely on their stars. So I'm kind of curious. The Islanders right now, this is a team that when the playoffs come, their goalies better be ready and their defense better be ready, because that's been their formula all season. Well, this is a team that leads the league in goals against, and if one of those goalies doesn't get hot, then it could be a short playoff for the team. But that's going to be their calling card when the postseason comes. And had Tavares been with the team still, it would have been how far is John Tavares going to lead the Islanders, not how far is Thomas Greiss or Robin Leonard going to
right, or Matthew Barzal.
Yeah.
By the way, Timothy, I'm just looking at the standings. The Islanders lead the league in goals against with 157. That's pretty darn good. Also, the Islanders are now in second place because on Friday, right across the street at the Coliseum from where we are at Nassau Coliseum, the Capitals went to work on the Islanders. And as a matter of fact, the Capitals are now in first place. The Islanders are in second. 2-point difference, 83 to 81. But the Capitals, the last 10 games are 7-3, and the Islanders are 4-5-1. So the Islanders have slipped in the last week or so.
Well, the Islanders have lost 3 of their last 4, and the Toronto game was the only win there. And I was actually on with Nick Fischetti and Nick.
Eric Fischetti.
Nick. Eric, what did I say? Nick Fischetti. Sorry, Eric Fischetti. Eric and Nick and Eleanor. I'm just going to use first names. But I was on with them Friday from the IBS because I was over there, at the convention.
Right.
And I said it on their show that I was really worried about the Capitals game, and it was that night because of how emotional Thursday was, and because there was. It's hard enough to play back-to-backs in the NHL. But when you have a game like the Islanders had against Toronto, and there was so much emotion and so much energy was used, and I told them on the show, I said I have some serious concerns about tonight's game because I don't know if they're going to be able to do that 2 nights in a row, and with the Capitals and the whole Barry Trotz thing, and obviously they're fighting for first place. I told them I said I don't have a good feeling that the Islanders are going to win this game because it's just too much to ask from human beings 2 nights in a row.
Sure.
So,
I understand.
Yeah, and you just can't get that up for consecutive games because the first game is going to take a toll on you. You can't just assume that players are going to be able to come back 24 hours later and be 100% again. It doesn't work that way. Right,
and I also would have wondered. I mean, I know schedules are made before Tavares signed with the Maple Leafs. But what happens if the Islanders' home game with Tavares, or with the Maple Leafs, I should say, and Tavares, I guess, happened earlier in the season? We're at the beginning of March now. The season's coming up to an end in a month. So imagine if they'd had it like in December or something, or January. So
it would have been better off.
Yeah. Just I think you don't want to peak with a total defeat of the Maple Leafs, which was great to see actually. But we'll see what happens with it. We're going to take a break right now, brother. You're listening to From the Press Box right here on 90.3 WHPC. We're part of the Sports Talk family here at WHPC. We're here 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. every Monday. But don't forget Sports Talk every Monday, 5 p.m., every Tuesday at 5 p.m., every Thursday at 9 p.m., and every Friday at 3 p.m. Tim, you're at Twitter at
Real Tim Leonard.
All hit music.
For all those songs radio has forgotten about, join me, Big Ed, Mondays from 10 a.m. till noon for The Good Gold Show. We'll bring back all the great hits of the 50s, 60s, 70s, and more. The sounds of doo-wop to disco, all the Motown, soul, and great rock and roll. We'll even take your requests and dedications to The Good Gold Show.
Music.
On the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC, and streaming on the iHeartRadio app.
Shake off the realities of the day, broaden your musical horizons, and embrace the diversity every Monday afternoon at 6 on Revelations. The show offers a potently unique collection of music with an emphasis on themes and rock rarities, an occasional tour de force of blues and soul, mixed with compelling sets of folk and folk rock. I'm Steve Kay, and I've got the perfect soundtrack for your drive home every Monday afternoon at 6 on Revelations, right here on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
Okay.
Go.
Tell your friends about the Nassau Morning Madhouse. Hear what you're missing.
Check it out.
Check it out.
We're talking about, oh man, someone's choice of a food item that they use to use it as a weapon. So Florida man yesterday smashed his wife in the face, right?
Nicely.
With a Taco Bell burrito.
This man's a legend.
Causing some to go up into her nose. According to police who arrested the suspect on a domestic battery charge.
He better have said something cool right before throwing it. Like, yo quiero Taco Bell.
Live mas. Yeah, live mas.
Live mas.
Live no mas.
Nassau Morning Madhouse. Weekday mornings from 7 to 9. On the voice of Nassau Community College.
90.3 WHPC.
We're back here on 90.3 WHPC, the voice of Nassau Community College. From the press box on your radio. Maybe it's on the iHeartRadio app. I don't know. Maybe it's on tunein.com. And of course, it begins at nccradio.org. My name is Rob Leonard. Tim Leonard's on the phone today because of all the snow and the craziness of it. Hello, brother.
Greetings, brother.
As always, some big news always happens after we go off the air. Well, actually, it happened a day or two later. But Bryce Harper, is he worth $330 million for 13 years?
Here's what I want to point out first, brother. While his contract is borderline absurd,
it is.
I'm not going to say that Bryce Harper isn't worth the money, but, and it's a big but, Bryce Harper turned down a 10-year, $300 million deal from the Washington Nationals late in the season. They said to him, Bryce, we'll give you 10 years. We'll give you $300 million. And Bryce and his agent, Scott Boras, said, no, thank you. That's not acceptable to us.
Wow.
So what did that get them? That got them 3 more years and $30 million, which is $10 million a year for the extra 3 years.
Right.
That's it's not really a good deal.
I mean, I guess he wanted the years and the I guess when it's, I mean, brother, if someone gave you $300 million, you'd be very happy. But if someone gave you $330 million, you'd be even happier, wouldn't you?
I'd be maybe just a tiny bit happier. But at some point, you know what? At some point, is there really a difference?
Well, you know what you have to do.
He's never going to spend all this money.
No, and the thing is about how you get this money. Once you get it, you have to do something with it. You just can't go out and buy sports cars and houses. You literally have to invest it and do something with it, because if not, it's going to disappear eventually. And so, you have to become a businessman too. Maybe he buys stock in a major company or something. I don't know.
Scott Boras takes care of that, brother.
I don't know.
I'll give Boras credit. He's an excellent agent.
Okay.
He's outstanding. He really is. He if I had a son who was a baseball prodigy, I would be calling Scott Boras and saying, "Hey, Scott, represent my son." That's a lot of people hate him, and he certainly is abrasive, and he certainly has this mindset like he should be the commissioner, because he thinks he knows more about baseball than anybody and how the game should be played. But he is an outstanding agent, and he'll say Bryce Harper's finances and all that, they will be taken care of quite well. Believe me.
It seems that every Boras guy gets their money, so for the most part, so
they figure it out. I mean, it's tough for me to look at the situation now where Bryce Harper is going to a division rival, and were there any issues between him and any of the Phillies players over the last couple of years? I don't know. I think it's an interesting thing to take a look at. But again, I mean, he wound up with a contract that the average annual value is obviously less than what Manny Machado got. For as far as total value, yes, it's the biggest contract in sports history. But at what cost? He also doesn't have any opt-outs, which good, bad, or indifferent, he is now trapped in Philadelphia for the next 13 years.
Right.
I don't know that that's something any athlete should want.
Well, you get some good cheesesteaks. I mean, that's always a
Well,
good thing.
yeah, but so what? I mean,
They have some
who
decent
cares?
pizza. I think one thing about both these guys, are they the top guys in baseball?
No.
That's
not
the
even
funny
close.
part. That's the funny part.
And the really funny part is Manny Machado is actually, if you look at the new stats, and if you look at things like WAR, and that's what people value players by in a lot of ways nowadays. Machado was I think 8th, if I remember correct. I'm just going by memory here, and Bryce Harper was something like 17th.
Wow.
So not only are they not the best players in the game, but they're really not all that close. So now what do you do when Mike Trout, if he decides to become a free agent, what do you do with him? I saw something on Twitter earlier this morning. Should the Yankees start trying to get Aaron Judge into an extension? And what do you offer Aaron Judge?
Right.
As far as I'm concerned, Aaron Judge is a better player than Bryce Harper. So where do you start with him? The issue with Judge and Machado is that both of them are 26 years old, and it's exceedingly rare that a player that young, who technically hasn't even gotten into his peak years yet. I mean, peak years is supposed to be from 27 to 32. So both of them aren't even in their quote-unquote primes yet. And Aaron Judge is, I'm pretty sure, older than both of them. So that was what you were buying with Machado and Harper, is you can't guarantee performance, and you don't know when performance might fall off. But because both of these guys have their entire prime still to play, these teams are getting some sort of certainty because of the players that these guys have been. So that's why the contracts were so big and for so many years, and obviously for so many dollars you need to pay for all those years. But that was the main driving factor as far as all that goes. Now, I'm not even going to sit here and guess and say, well, Aaron Judge should get X amount of dollars, because, like I said, his situation is different. His age, he's obviously going to be an older player as far as when he hits free agency. Aaron Judge this year is 26. In fact, April 26th, he'll turn 27.
Okay.
And he's still 3 years away from being a free agent. So he's not going to be a free agent until he's 30.
Right.
So,
well, yeah, maybe the Yankees do what they did with Derek Jeter. When they signed Derek to that 10-year deal, $189 million, he could have probably got more if he became a free agent, but he wanted to stay with the Yankees. And
he wanted to stay Yankee. And
I think that's important.
Well, I think if you look at Aaron Judge, and I'm looking at it as, here he's going to be a 30-year-old. I think if the Yankees decided this, all right, let's do, like in a year or two, let's do an 8-year deal for $250 million that'll carry him through somewhere around like his age 37 year, because that's usually around the cutoff where 36, 37, you're going to start seeing declining performance. But I think something like that would be a pretty good starting point. Yeah. I don't think the Yankees are ever going to go to 10 years on Aaron Judge, just because, like I said, he's already at an advanced age, or he's going to be at an advanced age. I mean, you're not going to give him a Robinson Cano kind of contract.
No.
But at the same time, like I said, I think they would probably look to take him through his age 37 season, and then you go year to year. I mean, that's basically where baseball is nowadays. The Yankees aren't going to give him a contract that'll take him through age 41, because the last 3 years of that deal probably won't amount to much, and you don't know what kind of physical shape he's going to be in at that point. I mean, that's what we've seen with the Albert Pujols contract.
Right.
He's still a reasonably productive player, but he's being paid like an elite player, and he is certainly not one of those anymore. So, the way things are in baseball, I think if you said to Aaron Judge in a year or two, or if you bought out his arbitration years, maybe you make it a 9-year deal or something like that, and get some more cost certainty out of it. But you could go 8 years, $250, maybe 9 for $275. something along those lines, because the Yankees are going to wind up giving him more money. Right now he's still on rookie deals, but once Aaron Judge hits arbitration, he's going from $650,000 to $20 million overnight.
Yeah, well, isn't that a great deal? You wake up, look, I made $650 million yesterday, or $650,000, and today I'm worth $20 million a year. So.
Well, hey, I wouldn't mind being Aaron Judge.
I wouldn't either.
Be a nice place to be right now.
Let's talk some other baseball, brother. Before we take the break here, who the Phillies sign?
I just kind of wanted to point out. I mean, you look at what the NL East has done this. I mean, it's obviously been the most active division in baseball. The Phillies have gotten way better this season. Now with Bryce Harper, Andrew McCutchen is there. They also signed David Robertson. The Phillies have done a good amount to improve themselves. And I'll say this. I think they drastically overpaid Andrew McCutchen. I think he's still a fairly productive player, but I don't think he really moves the needle that much nowadays. He's getting up there in age. David Robertson might wind up being the closer in Philly. So but I mean that's a reliable reliever that their bullpen was a little shaky last season. So the Phillies have made improvements. Now adding Harper, obviously you're adding a big bat in the middle of your lineup. This is a team that has made themselves considerably better. The Nationals, if you remember, not so early, but fairly early in free agency, added Patrick Corbin to an already impressive rotation. So you could make the argument, and I know Met fans will hate this, but you could make the argument that the Nationals have a better rotation than the Mets do. And I know Met fans, that's what they cling to.
That's a tough one. That's our claim, brother, as Met fans, that we still have a good pitching staff.
I understand that, and the Mets still do have a good pitching staff, but you probably have the second best rotation in the National League East as opposed to the first. And because to me, I look at the Mets as, all right, you have DeGrom, obviously, to me, is one of the best 2 or 3 starters in the game, not just in the National League. But the Nationals have Max Scherzer, who you can make the same claim for. If Strasburg stays healthy, he's going to win 17 or 18 games. But again, that's a big if, like a lot of Met pitchers. You could say the same thing for Syndergaard. So there's a lot of guys who match up, but the Nationals are a little deeper because now the Mets go to Wheeler, and Wheeler was brilliant in the second half last season. I mean, there's no two ways around it. But can he do it again? It's the first time in his career he's been that good and that consistently good. If he can do it for a full season, then he's going to get paid next season because he's going to be a free agent after this season. But which Wheeler is showing up? Did he make the leap last year, or was that just a nice stretch for an extended period, and we're going to get 10-9 Zach Wheeler, who's going to get hurt again this season and miss 5 or 6 starts.
Don't say that.
But then with the Mets, now you're dropping off. I mean, I'll even put Zach Wheeler close to DeGrom and Syndergaard because that's how he pitched last year. But then you go to Steven Matz, who you don't know what you're getting from him. And chances are what you're going to get from him is not going to be very good because that's been his career. And right now, the Mets' 5th starter is Jason Vargas.
Yeah, well, Matz has always been wishful thinking. Matz has always been wishful thinking, and sometimes it's good, and sometimes it's just wishful. So I know
he's basically at this point not even a 500 pitcher.
Yeah, I know. That's why
he's a guy who has all kinds of talent and the tools to get it done, but he's never been able to stay healthy long enough to put everything together. And maybe it happens this year like it happened for Wheeler last year. At some point, great pitchers, it all just kind of fits together for them. And he is certainly a guy who has that kind of ability. But, you have to start to wonder, is it going to happen for him? And that is the tease with Steven Matz.
Okay, we're going to talk about the Yankees and Mets when we get back. We got to take a break, brother. You're listening to From the Press Box right here on 90.3 WHPC, the voice of Nassau Community College.
Answer me. Who taught you to listen to Radio Rumble at 12 p.m. on Saturday afternoons?
You, all right? I learned it by watching you.
I'd buy that for $1.
The Radio Rumble has it all.
Humanity will suffer with me.
Movie reviews.
No kind of Sandys, you're wrong.
Sports talk.
Hi, sports fans. I'm Doug Frisch-Preed.
Awesome music.
Excellent!
So listen Saturday afternoons at 12 p.m. for The Radio Rumble on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
I learned it by watching you.
A Super Bowl champion, U.S. Congressman, publisher of Long Island Business News, award-winning authors, physical fitness, life coach, and celebrities like Billy Crystal and Eddie Murphy. I had no idea so many awesome people got their start at Nassau Community College.
Well, they're always saying that NCC is where success stories begin. With people like that as graduates, it must be true.
Hello, I'm Dr. Linda Nadian.
And I'm Aurora Workman, the president of Nassau Community College Alumni Association.
Together, we're the hosts of Lion Tales, a show that highlights proud graduates of Nassau Community College. Join us each week when distinguished alumni stop by to share stories, laugh a little, and remind us what things were like when they were students at Nassau Community College.
My fabulous friend Linda and I will also share the latest alumni news and updates, so tune in Tuesdays at 4 p.m. to the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC, or listen online with the iHeartRadio app.
You're listening to 90.3 WHPC, the voice of Nassau Community College. We just won 5 awards for the IBS. I don't want to say convention. We won. We're including
Explain
Station
what the
of the Year.
IBS is, but people don't know what the IBS is.
It's a collegiate broadcasting system. It's like it's like everything. It's just a big thing for college stations.
It just means we're the best station in the country.
That's right. Well, best community college station, at least. Anyway, brother, first of all, just quickly, the Knicks won 2 games this week. Well, this year, maybe. I don't know. But, don't worry, everyone. They still are horrible.
Yes.
What are they going to do next year, man? I know they have all this money lined up.
They're going to win. That's what they're going to do
well,
next year.
I don't know, man. When they had the chance a couple of years ago, they didn't seem to do it either. So I don't know. And like we said,
I should say that's the plan is to win next year. I mean, obviously the Knicks they're going to face a challenge, and we've talked about this before, and I'm not going to take too much time with it. But the Knicks, the trade that they made for Porzingis to the Mavericks, there are a decent number of NBA connected people who think that the Knicks have an assurance from Kevin Durant that he is going to come to New York, and that they wouldn't have made that trade unless Kevin Durant would have given the Knicks a signal that I'm willing to come to New York, and,
isn't that illegal?
And we can get something done. Technically, it's supposed to be, but if the Knicks trade Porzingis and do that without having a backup plan, I'm sorry, that's pretty stupid. And you can talk all you want about the number 1 picks that they got from Dallas, but those are so far in the future, and Dallas more than likely is going to be a decent team for the next few years, especially if they sign Porzingis to an extension, which Mark Cuban said they're going to. But with Porzingis and Doncic, that's going to be a pretty good team for the next several years. So those draft picks won't mean much. I mean, they're probably going to be in the 18 to 25 range.
Right.
You're not usually getting an impact NBA player in the 18 to 25 range. It's exceedingly rare. So, if that's what you gave up Kristaps Porzingis for, then the Knicks made a mistake. I mean, that's why that trade has been so intriguing is because you're not going to know for a couple of years at least who won the trade.
Right.
And part of that equation is those first round picks, and I think the Knicks regarded those picks as gravy in the deal, but Dennis Smith Jr. is already kind of proving to be a bit of a drama queen. And, the latest thing I saw was the Knicks don't think he's eating well. And they hired or have a team dietitian, and she went food shopping with him to make sure he's making informed choices.
Come on.
Yes.
That's like with the bad chicken, Come on. They're going to teach him
That was Brandon Nimmo. That was
Brandon Nimmo doesn't know how to cook chicken. Come on.
I don't know how you don't know. Buy Brandon Nimmo a George Foreman grill. And
buy him pre-cooked chicken. I don't know.
But whatever. But I mean, this is what some of the stuff that you're dealing with when Dennis Smith is another guy. He's what 21, 22 years old. He's a kid.
Right.
So we have these expectations that just because these guys have massive amounts of talent and they're making obviously very good money. I mean, even Aaron Judge at $625,000 this year. In baseball terms, that's a lousy salary. In real life terms, that's a hell of a lot of money.
Yeah.
So we tend to forget that a lot of these guys are also very young, and they don't necessarily have a lot of life experience because all they've been doing for their careers is chasing the dream.
Yeah. Do they know how to do laundry? That's
barely. A lot of these guys, if they weren't athletes, they probably wouldn't be such great functioning members of society.
It's like do their girlfriends do their laundry and they have no idea, when they add the bleach and.
Well, I doubt that. I mean, I would hope that these guys at least know how to do their own laundry and at least know how to take care of themselves. But for an athlete, especially, food is a big part of that because you can't eat McDonald's every day or you can't eat crap food. You have to eat vegetables and you have to get the correct amounts of protein and you have to, your performance will be impacted by what you eat and obviously there have been a lot of advances made in knowledge of that area over the last few years or last 5 to 10 years, but how many guys actually do that? Is Dennis Smith going to a 24-hour McDonald's that he knows about after games, or is he ordering up whatever garbage that they have in a room service or in a hotel bar? Is he getting nachos at 1 o'clock in the morning or whatever? I don't know, but that's a big part of an athlete's responsibility, as well as getting enough sleep. And letting your body heal and recharge, and so you're not up until 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock in the morning playing Fortnite or whatever these guys are doing. But that's also a big part of it, and it's kind of dragging some of these guys into adulthood and realizing, hey, this is my career, and if I don't focus on this stuff, then my career is going to be considerably shorter than it might have been, and that's all going to be self-inflicted.
Good point.
So,
good point.
These guys don't want to kill the golden goose, but at the same time, obviously, I know they're young guys. They want to have fun. They want to do what they want, and they think their bodies are going to be how they are now forever. But it's a process. You need to maintain that, and that was an issue last week with Dennis Smith. He wasn't happy about it, but I think he understands why, and or at least I hope he understands why the Knicks did it. But
right.
This is where we are right now, and the Knicks have the worst record in the Eastern Conference, and by a couple of games, and they are. Let's see. I'm just looking at the standings right now. The Phoenix Suns are actually a half a game worse than the Knicks. The Knicks are 13-50. The Suns are 13-51.
All right.
So, but the way things are this season with the NBA and the lottery, because they wanted to try to prevent teams from tanking, the three teams that are the lowest three teams in the league all will have the same chance to get the number one pick, and everybody's expecting that number one pick to be Zion Williamson.
Right.
But right now, that's the Knicks, the Cavaliers, and the Suns. So
okay, well, let's talk Yankees and Mets. You pick the team you want to talk about first. Doesn't matter to me.
The Yankees always win that battle.
Yeah, I know with you.
Lots of home runs yesterday against the Detroit Tigers.
Yeah.
Aaron Judge hit 2. Both oppos, brother. We love the oppo.
But that's what he likes. He likes opposite field home runs. He's better.
You know what? I'll tell you what. I saw last night, and I was watching the rebroadcast of the game, and Yes Network had Willie Randolph in the booth. Now that was a treat.
That was
Willie's not much of a broadcaster, I'll tell you that, but some good insight, and he did point out Aaron Judge has altered his swing.
Okay.
With 2 strikes, Aaron Judge is not even striding. He's just kind of putting his foot up on his toe. And you know how Aaron Judge with his swing, he has a very definite stride. He's got his whole timing mechanism it kind of lengthens his swing, and his swing obviously at 6'7" is already long enough. But with 2 strikes yesterday, Aaron Judge barely lifted his foot. In fact, he just went onto his toe on his left foot, and then swung through the ball and crushed one to right field. And Willie Randolph was the guy that pointed that out. So Aaron Judge has made adjustments that should lead to him striking out less this season.
Well, that's good for Aaron.
And if that's the case, then his batting average is going up, his RBIs will go up, and more than likely his home runs will go up. I know he's going to hit more home runs than he did last year because he missed about 2 months with injuries last year. But with this adjustment, we could, and good health, we very likely could see another 50 home run season out of Aaron Judge.
That'd be good. You know who Aaron Judge reminds me of? Just like he likes to go opposite field. My friend Vinny, when we used to play softball, always went opposite field whenever he could. And because everyone always expected him to hit to the left field. And I look at Aaron Judge, and I see this opposite field thing. He likes going opposite fields. I think for him, it just throws the other team off. And
it's just another reason why so many people see him as the next Derek Jeter, because he does like to go opposite field. He's not just a pull
Derek
hitter.
used to hit a lot of homers opposite field. You're right.
Exactly.
So
but Brett Gardner hit 2 home runs yesterday as well. He hit a couple of pull shots, and apparently the funny part was, and I also liked seeing this as well, because apparently Gardner was kind of talking some trash on the bench and getting on guys. I don't know what he was saying specifically, but he was basically talking to Judge, talking to Stanton, talking to the big boys, and Stanton just kind of looked down at him and said, hey, try doing it hard. Try hitting a couple opposite field, and kind of shut him up a little bit. But what I liked about that is here's Aaron Judge in his 3rd year, not afraid to say something to Brett Gardner.
Yeah, well,
not afraid to kind of join in and maybe say, hey, Gardy, relax, all right? It's only spring training, and you need to calm down a little bit. But it's good because Aaron Judge as a rookie was very deferential. He was a guy who he knew his place. He knew he wasn't going to get involved with the veterans, and he was just, keep your head down, stay quiet, and very respectful of the veterans, and that's how rookies should be. Now he's to a point where he's in his 3rd season. He unquestionably is one of the best players on the team, but it seems like he's ready and willing to take on more of that leadership role. And Jeter pretty much did that his first season.
Right.
Jeter was exceptional in that role, and plus there was a bit of a leadership void in that clubhouse, even though there was a decent amount of veterans. But you look at guys like Paul O'Neill and Tino Martinez and guys like that; they were quiet guys to begin with. They didn't want that role, but Jeter kind of moved right into it, and it was like, all right, well, this is who I am, and this is what I'm about, and I'm here to win titles, and that sort of thing.
Well, I also think that both Paul O'Neill and Tino would show it on the field more than get rah-rah with people.
They were very, very much lead by example kind of guys, and that's individual personality, and I think Judge is like that as well. But I would like to see him become, I'm not talking about a rah-rah guy, but it kind of announces his presence in that. All right, I'm looking to expand my base,
right,
and part of that involves, I'm going to say what I want when I want to whoever I want, because now I'm one of the guys that's driving the bus on this team. And it was good from that standpoint. I'm not making a major deal out of it, but it was just good to see Aaron Judge kind of having some fun and having some fun with one of the most veteran Yankees. In fact, the guy who's been with the Yankees the longest, but one of those leaders in the clubhouse. And Gardy was cool with it. I'm not saying it was like any kind of, there was certainly no negative to it. It was just a couple of guys having fun after a win.
I love the fact you call him Gardy like you know him.
Yeah, Gardy, my boy. But that's, it's good to see Judge kind of, stepping into that role and becoming more of a leader. That's when I saw the quote and when I saw the comment from Judge, I that was the part I really liked about it. I mean, it was kind of funny too, but just the fact that he's saying that and getting a little more involved in that aspect of the game, letting his personality come out a little more, and again, to me, very, very Jeter-like, and it was certainly good to see from him. So I think we'll see more of that this year as the season goes on.
What about the Mets, brother? Quickly, we have about 5 minutes left before Big Ed's here. Who's live in the studio today?
Just very quickly, brother, with one more thing from the Yankees, because Gardner also said after the game that he said he didn't even think. He says the Yankees are going to break the Major League record for home runs in a season. Now, that was the record that they set last season when the Yankees hit 267 home runs. And you have to remember that Aaron Judge missed a couple of months with injuries.
Right.
Gary Sanchez was not a good season from Gary Sanchez. To me, I tell you what, the Yankees could hit 300 home runs this season if guys stay healthy. They're going to be a ferocious team.
That's a lot, brother.
It's a lot. It's a whole lot. I mean, you're talking about obliterating a record. So we'll see. I mean, it's going to be a fun season in the Bronx. I'll tell you that.
That's true. Well, what about the Mets quickly? We're running out of time.
The Mets, Peter Alonso is the guy that I know pretty much all Mets fans want to be the starting first baseman this season. I know you want Peter Alonso to be the starting first baseman. Dominic Smith, brother, remember him?
No.
Yeah, you should. Dominic Smith is batting .500 this spring.
That's pretty damn good.
And he had 4 RBIs yesterday, including a 3-run home run. But .500 average. Obviously, small sample size as spring training is. But I think Dominic Smith is trying to force a decision from the Mets and is kind of trying to give them a little bit of a reminder. Hey, I'm over here, haven't left yet, still around.
Yeah, well, that's what you do. You remind people you're still around.
But Dominic Smith could be the perfect antidote for the Mets because the Mets want to send Alonso back to AAA so they can control his service time and get that extra year out of him. Dominic Smith having a great spring would be the perfect way to do that because then the Mets could justify sending Alonso back to AAA for a few weeks like they already want to, and say, oh, Dominic Smith, look at him, he batted .500 in spring training. How can we not have him start? He earned the job, and nobody's going to be able to say anything about that because it will be factual, even though it's a bit of falsehood,
right?
Because we all know that by June that Peter Alonso is going to be the Mets starting first baseman. But that would be the perfect solution for the Mets in this situation because right now Peter Alonso could hit 10 home runs this spring. He's not going to be the first baseman in the season opener for the Mets because, like I said, they're going to want to control the service time and get that extra year, which it's something that baseball is going to have to address with the next CBA because it really is a charade what happens to a lot of star players. But sure, Peter Alonso will start the season in AAA. I can guarantee you that. So good for Dominic Smith that he's finally doing something.
Quickly, brother, it seemed like the season just ended 3 months ago, but MLS is back, Major League Soccer. Of course, it's snowing on Friday night into Saturday morning, but doesn't matter. Snow doesn't matter. The Red Bulls 1-1 draw with the Columbus Crew. And my favorite team, NYCFC, also.
You love them.
Because they don't have a name. Let's
also
go
with a draw.
Let's go FC with Orlando.
Also with a draw, 2-2 against Orlando. So
yeah, so
kind of a slow start for both of the locals, but MLS is back and we're happy about it. And good to see them back on the pitch and kicking it around.
Snowing. We love watching soccer in the snow. Because that's the way it's supposed to be played.
Colorado and Portland. I don't know whose idea it was to schedule a season opener in Colorado in early March, but it snowed and it was 18 degrees, and that turned out to be not the best idea in the world. So probably the less said about that, the better.
Yeah, and by the way, Robert Kraft, who the NFL might be, doing some sort of fine or whatever. We should remind people he is also the owner of the New England Revolution of MLS, and the MLS is also looking into Robert Kraft. Will they do anything? Probably not. What are they going to do?
Well, I mean, there is a likelihood at this point that Kraft couldn't, quote unquote, get off on the charges. Sorry for the lack of the bad choice of words, but there is, I mean, there are lawyers who aren't connected with the case, but they're punching holes in the Jupiter police case.
Sure, of course.
So, it very well could be that Kraft will wind up skating on this, and if that is the case, then don't expect the NFL and MLB do anything, because then technically he would have done nothing illegal. So what are you going to fine him for? But yeah, he is the owner of the Revolution. So MLS Commissioner Don Garber said the other day that the league is monitoring the situation as the investigation continues. But it could be a second league that Kraft winds up being sanctioned.
By the
we'll see.
By the way, brother, go to find on Saturday Night Live this past Saturday. They had a Shark Tank takeoff, but it was called the Legal Edition. And they had Robert Kraft come on, and that guy from Empire who faked his own beat up.
Yeah, Jussie Smollett.
Oh, it was. I can't go into it because we got to leave the show, but it was hilarious. Anyway, brother, thank you for joining us. Of course, next week we'll be back in the studio because there won't be any snow. Coming up next, because he's live in the studio also. Snow's not keeping Big Ed away. Snow's not keeping me away. Coming up next is Good Gold Show with Big Ed. Playing the oldies you want to hear, because no one's playing them anymore. Anyway, brother, take care. You're at Twitter at?
Real Tim Leonard.
By the way, one more thing. The award-winning Unforgettables every Saturday at 9 p.m. Join host Michael Anthony as he presents 2 hours of jazz and standards with artist profiles and guests who makes the music happen. That's the Unforgettables, the award-winning now Unforgettables every Saturday at 9 p.m. right here at 90.3 WHPC. Here comes Big Ed. Take care and bye-bye.
The views expressed on air are not necessarily those of WHPC, its management, or Nassau Community College. Responsible opposing viewpoints will be considered by emailing them to whpc@ncc.edu or by mail at WHPC 1 Education Drive, Garden City, New York 11530. Thanks for listening to the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
Attention, all NCC students. Do you want to witness a musical showdown on campus? On Tuesday, March 12th at 7 p.m. in the CCB Multipurpose Room, Nassau Concerts and WHPC will be having their first annual Battle of the Bands. Come see talented students compete for the chance to win over the judges at this exciting event. If you can't be there in person, be sure to tune in to hear the battle on 90.3 WHPC live Tuesday, March 12th at 7 p.m. More information is available by searching for Nassau Concerts on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. The Nassau Community College Battle of the Bands. May the best musicians win.